If you ever thought that football is just about fun and games, think again. Today, I'm sharing 10 real-life lessons that we can all learn from the beautiful game of football and implement them in our daily lives, including business, finance, career, productivity, social, and many other fields of our lives. Football is one of the most fantastic sports out there, and nowadays it's witnessing an all-time high demand in viewership worldwide, with its exciting nature that unites fans globally to come together and cheer for their favorite clubs and national teams and enjoy a thrilling 90 minutes of pure action, drama, and tactics. Just before we get our feet dirty, I'd like to make it clear that by football, I mean the international game of football, or what Americans call soccer. Also, throughout this video, I'll try my best not to mention any specific players or clubs and leave that to your own imagination, just to keep things unbiased so that you can all find the value I'm providing in this video. That being said, let's get into it. Victory in football is basically achieved when the match ends with your team having scored more than they have conceded. So if a team scores one goal during the match and keep their clean sheet, meaning they don't concede any goals, they win. The same goes if the team concedes some goals but still outscore the opponent. Easy as that. And the way goals are scored is through shooting the ball on target and getting it past the goalkeeper and over the goal line. But now, if we look at the big picture, given that shots lead to goals and goals lead to victory, we can see that the only way it is impossible for a team to win is if they have no shots at all during the match. Let's say that you're playing against a tough defense and a relentless goalkeeper, and your team arrives at the conclusion that there's basically no chance of scoring. The truth is, unless you decide to stop shooting the ball, you're still in the game. With each attempt, pressure will be building up on your opposition, potentially leading them to make mistakes. And if you decide to take enough shots, quantity, and have them be on target, quality, then your chances of scoring increase. And even if all these shots are off target, there are still multiple ways that they could indirectly lead to goals, such as deflecting off a defender and hitting the target, or resulting in an own goal, or coming off the woodwork and land on a silver plate for the closest forward to score. And we do see all these happen quite often. The manifestation of this point in football is that in life it is said that you miss 100% of the chances that you don't take. In all other cases in which you make an effort towards a certain goal you have, be it personal, social, financial, or any other type of goal, you will have a chance of hitting the target and achieving your goal. Therefore, the best course of action is to always take action and not fear failing, because failure is not in taking your shot and missing the target. The real failure is in not taking any shots at all. In football, the team always comes first. If the team wins, you win. And the greatest accomplishments for players are not their individual achievements, but rather the titles that they win as a team. For these titles, players need to act selflessly and play their role in the team effort towards the greater common goal of victory. Otherwise, football is a sport that cannot be played or won alone. Some examples of this teamwork are in that football is a passing game. And while there are some players, and especially number 10s, who have scored a good amount of solo goals, but these are exceptions to the rule. Normally, in order for a team to score, a lot of coordinated passes need to take place and the entire team collaborate to score. Even if you have a striker who's a fox in the box, without a playmaker providing assists or a fullback crossing the ball in, he wouldn't manage to score. Goalkeepers, for example, very rarely score themselves, but their saves are what contributes to the team's victories. And every game we see forwards drop back out of position in order to assist the defenders during counterattacks, just as the defenders push forward when their team conducts the attacks. Another example of being selfless for the greater good in football is when the team's top goal scorer stands down from taking a penalty kick when there's a better penalty taker in the squad, increasing the team's chances of scoring and winning. Another aspect of this teamwork in football is that teams are better off if all players know and do their distinct responsibilities while also working together to serve the team. Footballers need to be good at everything and great at something. Top athletes perform well across the board but have also perfected a single skill, be it free kicks, fast dribbling, world-class first touch, cutting inside and curving the ball in, long vision through balls, or winning challenges. The same thing applies in daily life where group work matters the most. Such is the case in family dynamics, for instance, in which each family member contributes in their own way and support one another. The healthiest relationships occur when each partner takes care of their core responsibilities while also being available to help each other out when needed, working together as a team in order for the individual family members to prosper. In the business world, the same concept applies. The main purpose of establishing a company in the first place is to combine the individual efforts and generate an outcome that's greater and more meaningful than what each person could achieve alone. For example, an expert in sales can't sell an incomplete product that's not fully developed. On the other hand, even a very smart product developer can't do any business if no leads are being generated by the salespeople. Also, as is the case in startups, the best hires are those who are great and specialized at their main responsibilities, but never shy away from lending a hand and supporting their colleagues when necessary. Another aspect of the teamwork in football that we can observe is that there are a lot of people behind the scenes who play a pivotal role in the team's progress, such as set-piece coaches, assistant coaches, nutritionists, physiotherapists, scouts, analysts, marketers, and many more who might not get the spotlight but are constantly working hard to make sure that everyone's efforts matter. An example of this in the largest scale is in our societies, where most of the essential work are done by people whom we don't see or hear about. For example, none of us know the names or recognize the faces of the hard-working people who work on maintaining roads, safeguarding the nation's cybersecurity, fighting criminals, inspecting imported goods, and perhaps the most important and least recognized of which are farmers. It is important to recognize that whatever it is that we do in our society, it is thanks to other unsung heroes who make it possible. My third point is about adapting. Adapting is a crucial part of any football game. A team could kick off a match with a solid game plan in mind, but then concede an early goal or have a player sent off or face an injury in the first minutes of the match, and suddenly their entire strategy falls apart. At that moment, there's one thing for the team to do, and that is to adapt to the situations they've got into. The best football clubs are constantly adjusting their tactics in real time. For instance, when a team that has been attacking the entire game finally manages to score a goal in the dying minutes of the match, they adapt and switch to a defensive position, forcing even the attackers themselves to fall back and defend their lead. Also, when a coach changes his tactics and substitutes key players in an attempt to maintain or improve the scoreline, the opposing coach is expected to react quickly and make his own changes in response. When we look at it this way, we can see that football is sort of like a game of chess, in which you don't just focus on your own strategy, but also keep an eye on the opponent's moves and adapt accordingly. This need for adaptability is also clear in our social circles. No one can genuinely say that they're into all the personality traits of their partner or best friend. They might even dislike certain aspects of them. However, adapting and embracing these differences is key to maintain any relationship. None of the things that we do in life go exactly according to our plans. But what keeps us in the game is our adaptability. This is also true on the business side of things, in which the only constant is change. Prices fluctuate, the market demand is always shifting, and competitors are constantly strategizing. Just like how football teams adjust formation and player positions, successful businesses also adapt. Take Amazon and Netflix as examples. Amazon in 1995 was nothing but an online bookstore, and Netflix was just a DVD rental service in 1997. Had these two businesses stuck to their original models and refused to adapt to the market, they wouldn't be thriving businesses now.
They would be dead once long ago.
If you've been doing business, you will know that you can't succeed without gaining awareness and reaching potential clients. And in the current day, you can't expect to do that by simply renting billboards and magazine spaces anymore. You will have to adapt. A major part of which is leveraging online video content. Speaking of which, I'd like to mention this video sponsor, myself. If you're a content creator and would like to reach a broader audience and get more engagement, or you're a business owner and would like to generate more traffic and sales, hit me up via email or on my socials linked in the description, and I'll help you adapt the right way. Consistent hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. This includes major principles like consistency, dedication, and perseverance. And in football, it is not flashy one-off performances that win leagues. It is delivering match after match that does it. High-performing players do their best daily to exercise and run on a predefined diet in order to keep their game sharp. And every year, we see big-name superstars and promising talents lose their edge due to their lack of discipline, while others who had no horse in the game as a kid end up playing for elite clubs due to their consistent hard work on and off the pitch. The GOATs of the game, and I'm trying my best not to mention any names here, weren't that good when they were first starting out, but their relentless work ethic and strict discipline made them who they are today. The bottom line is commitment, showing up every day and on time, will ensure your success and make you a player who commands respect. And whatever it is that you think you're good at, someone with a fraction of your talent could beat you in no time if they put in the work while you rely on your natural talent alone. I have personally gone through the irritating experience of forgetting a language that I once knew because I didn't practice it often enough. And so are all other skills. You lose them if you don't practice. Getting into a better physical shape isn't a far-fetched goal following a good diet and regular exercise. It will take months to see the results, but the results will eventually come if and only if one stays consistent. This is true for financial habits as well. Avoiding reckless spending while saving and wisely investing little by little each month will help you achieve financial security over time. Let's talk about resilience. In football, it is wise to hope for the best but plan for the worst, because whatever could go wrong often does. Resilience is one of the most required skills in any sport, and in football, teams and players recovering from setbacks is a central part of the game, which demands resilience. A strong team could start a game with the plan of quickly scoring, but find themselves down by 2 goals and the player sent off at halftime, meaning they will have to start the second half at a massive disadvantage, both in player count and goals. Luckily, that's what the halftime break is for the manager and players to regroup and strategize before it's too late. That is why the second half is sometimes called the manager's half, because his resilience and what he says and does during halftime determines the rest of the game. And in this case, if this team managed to pick themselves up, they might at least end this bad day with a draw, which is basically like a win given the bad situation they were in. Another frequent setback in football are injuries. These could span weeks, months, or even years. During this time, top athletes do their best to stay resilient and speed up their recovery as much as possible. Once they do recover, the field is theirs to shine on again. Unfortunately, other players have their entire careers ruined after injuries, and it partly comes down to how resilient the player is in dealing with such a situation. The same is true for real-life setbacks. Accidents, bankruptcy, or rejections all feel way worse for each of us than losing the World Cup. But the skill lies in being resilient enough to learn from those heartbreaking experiences, adjust our approach, and basically try again. And you know what? Sometimes a tough loss can teach you way more than an easy win ever could. Another thing in football that emphasizes resilience is when an entire team drop back and defend as a unit in order to absorb the opposition attacks. This retreat and regroup tactic is a resemblance of taking a step back in order to leap forward. And someone does this in real life when they escape a toxic relationship or job environment and face some financial or social struggles for a bit, only to replace those negative environments with new ones that better support their goals and well-being. I would also like to mention a related thing that's a very basic principle in the way a comeback, also known as remontada, happens in football. All teams will concede goals. Once they do, they will have to eliminate the deficit first and then score more than they concede in order to win. The application of this in real life is that if you're already down in one area of your life, you will have to make efforts to get back to square one at first and then move ahead. A great example is that if you own a business and it has been losing money the whole time, you can't expect to start profiting right away. You will have to focus on breaking even first, which is basically the same as leveling the score, only this time is between the revenue and expense teams. Once you reach that milestone, you will be on the path to making profit or win. Reflecting on the greatest comebacks in football is a great inspiration when suffering from a setback. Seeing how these teams refused to give up while all odds were stacked against them and managed to level the score and then go for the win. Football is a game and it should be enjoyed. And players and fans should be enjoying the gameplay with all its ups and downs. But let's be real, at the end of the day, the scoreline is all that matters. A better squad having 80% possession and 50 shots throughout the match that end up losing is nothing but the losing side of the match. The rest will be forgotten. Imagine you attend the decisive game of your national team and they put on an entertaining display, keeping you at the edge of your seat the whole time. But if at the end of the game, your team suffers a painful loss, you won't be heading home with a smile on your face. The result will stick with you, and no one will care to mention how the losing side played. This is a harsh reality about football and life in general. And it is that life doesn't reward us for our efforts, but rather for the tangible outcomes thereof. For instance, you can enjoy what you do and work on your passion as much as you'd like. But if at the end of the day, you don't generate enough results or profit, you'll eventually have to abandon your passion for something else that actually pays the bills. We're all pursuing something or another. And since progress is measured by results, I'll tell you this. If you stop now, almost no one will appreciate the efforts that you made to get here. But if you push a bit more, take more shots on target and somehow make it, everyone will recognize your efforts. Another manifestation of this fact in football is that all goals are equal. It doesn't matter if you perform the bicycle kick or just tap the ball into an empty net. They both count the same on the scoreboard as one goal. If a player racks up the most goals in a league but are mostly from penalties, he will still be the league's top goal scorer. And a champion who has won the final 1-0 by a lucky deflected ball will still be the champion and take the trophy home. Effective action is what gets the intended result. Sometimes, instead of complicating our problems or looking for flashy solutions, it is best to simplify the matters and look for simple solutions that just fix the problem. Just like footballers celebrate their spectacular and dull goals all the same, every step that you take towards achieving your goal is a small win that is worth celebrating. Finally, as the saying goes, those who laugh last laugh the most. So the real joy actually comes when you win in the end. And if you're in it to win it, you will have all the fun. Both in football and in other sports, there's a famous quote that says, "Offense wins games, but defense wins championships." And of course, both of these are vital for any team. I mean, smart and quick forwards and wingers can win their team's individual matches. But in order for the team to dominate in the long run, having a solid defense is indispensable. And here, when I mention defense, I'm not referring to the individual defenders, because as I mentioned before, teams need to defend as a group, withstanding the opposition pressure and holding on to their lead. Having a strong defense brings stability to the team. On the other hand, a weak defense that lets a lot of goals in makes any goals that the team managed to score insignificant. But once everything is secured in the back, players will now focus on creating chances up front. And doing this for 90 minutes is usually more than enough to score at least one goal, which if they defend correctly will end up being their winning goal. This philosophy has deep roots in football, as you may have heard of the Italian catenaccio. It also resonates in real life. Just like in football, once you have secured your defenses, scoring chances will always come about. In real life, opportunities will always arise. But you can only capitalize on them if you have already prepared and secured your defenses. This includes paying attention to your physical health, mental well-being, savings, and other important aspects of your life. Making more money is a great thing, good offense. But it won't be effective if you carelessly spend it all, bad defense. Rapidly growing your business through marketing is a great thing, good offense. But if this growth lacks a solid foundation and planning, bad defense, it will backfire. Similarly, hitting the gym and intensely working out is a great thing, good offense. But without following a good diet and enough recovery, bad defense, you won't see the anticipated results. Football teaches us that small mistakes can lead to big consequences. A defender slightly tripping the opposition attacker inside the box could lead to a penalty that can cost them the entire game. Some other common mistakes that we see happen often are careless back passes from defenders to goalkeepers that are intercepted and end up as one-on-one situations that are quickly materialized into a goal. Similarly, signing a contract without due diligence or failing to properly communicate key matters to managers or missing important deadlines are all examples of actions that may feel insignificant at the time but end up destroying entire careers. And in our social lives, the same goes for those harmless untruths or white lies that slowly but surely harm the bond and trust between friends, family, and partners. Sometimes this butterfly effect doesn't only manifest itself in the form of errors made, but also missing opportunities has a similar effect. A certain phenomenon that I have seen happen time and time again in football is when a player misses an easy chance or a sitter, and in a few seconds' time, the opposition manages to counterattack from this lost opportunity and score. Hence, missing easy chances in football is fatal, and milliseconds of hesitation in front of the goal are enough for the chance to disappear and never revisit. I hope this doesn't sound cringy, but I mentioned this point to highlight that seizing opportunity whenever you do get one is key, because the future remains a mystery, and you'll never know when's the next time, if any, in which such a chance will grace your path again. A player can have all the talent in the world and put in the effort, but staying compliant is what keeps him on the field. Whereas if a player rebels and refuses to implement the tactics demanded by the head coach, he will get substituted this match, benched for the next one, and eventually sold in the transfer market. Another clear example is when a player doesn't conform to the laws of the game that are enforced by the referee. leading to yellow cards, red cards, and even suspensions. And in serious cases, such as the case of players taking performance-enhancing drugs, they could even get banned indefinitely. Life is pretty similar. To stay in the game, one has to be acquiescent enough to listen to their peers and people with more skill in the game. These could be managers or senior colleagues at work. Otherwise, their stay there isn't guaranteed. Wise men don't think that they're too clever to abide by the law. Rather, they shy away from committing unlawful acts that could remove them entirely from the field. No one should think that they're above the law. Remember, prisons are filled to the brink with talented people who have simply failed to play by the rules.
It's all right. It's okay.
My final point is that in football, time is the most valuable asset and is constantly running out. If a group of players think that they are playing it safe by parking the bus and wasting the entire time without creating any real chances, they will usually find themselves in trouble as the match ultimately nears its end. But at the same time, a football match isn't over and no side is truly defeated until the referee blows the final whistle. Think of the legendary stoppage time equalizers and dramatic last-minute wins. As long as there's time on the clock, it's never too late for a comeback. Just like that, football is teaching us an important lesson about time, and that is to use it wisely because it's constantly running out. Time is our most precious resource, and wasting it on distractions and regrets will only breed more regrets. Any dream that you've always wanted to chase isn't guaranteed to always stay there, and neither is your capability to chase that dream. The cruel reality of the world is that all things are destined to vanish with time. But as gloomy as this might seem, football also teaches us that the game is not over until you hear that final whistle. The main lesson here is that we might feel behind right now, but as long as we're still in the game, we can turn things around, and there's always chance for a comeback. If you found this video inspiring, do me a favor and share it with your friends who aren't that much into football, to show them what they're really missing out on. And if you stayed until here, I would love your company. So make sure that you subscribe for more interesting and informative content to come, and remember, the game is on.